"This is John," my wife's mother said, her voice a little too bright, as though the tinsel and Christmas lights weren't already doing enough to make the evening sparkle. "He'll be perfect for your position at the company after you get laid off and divorce." The room seemed to tilt, but I steadied my hand and buttered my roll calmly. "How nice," I murmured, though my chest was burning. I had known for months something wasn't right with Emily. Late nights at the office, the sudden coldness when I touched her shoulder in bed, her phone angled away from me on the couch. But the way her mother had just tossed it across the table, like passing the salt, made the truth feel more humiliating than painful. Not just a betrayal, but the premeditation of it, as though I was a chapter already written out of her life. John smiled, oblivious or pretending to be. He was tall, handsome in a magazine way, the kind of man who looked at ease in a tailored suit. My wife sat next to him, her eyes shining too brightly when she looked his way, and in that flicker of a glance the last thread of denial in me broke. Dinner became theater. Laughter rose from the table. Holiday cheer wrapped around everyone like garland, but inside me something cracked. I wasn't angry yet. I was hollow, the way a tree sounds when you knock on it and hear the emptiness. After the dishes, after the obligatory family photos, after I'd smiled so hard my jaw ached, I drove home in silence with Emily. She stared out the window as though the streetlights had answers written in their glow. I wanted to scream, to demand the truth, but I knew she'd lie, and I was too tired for lies. It was weeks later, when she finally packed a suitcase, that I let myself break. The house was too quiet, the imprint of her body still warm on the couch cushions. I opened her laptop left on the counter, half from rage, half from masochism. The emails were all there. The words I had once believed were only mine. "I miss you. I feel alive with you. I'm tired of pretending." The worst wasn't the cheating. It was that she had felt alive with him, which meant with me, she felt dead. The layoff came right on time, as though life had signed its name to my mother-in-law's prophecy. I carried a box of my things out of the office. Photographs, a mug Emily once bought me, papers no one would ever read again, and felt the weight of failure in every step. That night, I went to a bar alone. The air smelled of whiskey and fried food, the hum of muted televisions filling the silence between strangers. I sat there nursing a drink, staring into the amber glass as though it might offer me a reason. That's when Claire walked in. She wasn't extraordinary at first glance. Her hair was a little messy, her coat slightly too big for her frame, but when she smiled at the bartender, something about the curve of it felt like the opposite of everything I had been living. It was unguarded, honest. She sat 2 stools away, ordered a gin and tonic, and noticed me looking. I expected annoyance, but she tilted her head, amused. "You look like someone who just lost more than his job," she said softly. I laughed, sharp and bitter, but she didn't flinch. She shifted closer. "Am I wrong?" "No," I said, and for the first time in months, I let the truth spill. Not the details, not the raw wound, but enough for her to see me. A man abandoned. A man who had built a life only to watch it crumble in someone else's hands. She listened, not with pity, but with a kind of fierce gentleness, like she understood the shape of grief herself. Her hand brushed mine once, almost by accident, but my body lit up at the contact. It was wrong. I knew it, and yet the thought of being seen, touched, wanted again, it pulled me toward her like gravity. We began meeting without meaning to. A coffee here, a walk there. I told myself it was friendship, that it was healing to be near someone who didn't look at me with judgment or betrayal. But every time her eyes lingered on mine a second too long, every time her laugh made something deep inside me loosen, I knew the truth. The night it finally happened, the sky was heavy with snow. We had walked until our breaths came in clouds, until our cheeks burned from the cold. She invited me in to warm up, and I didn't resist. Her apartment smelled faintly of lavender, the lights soft, a record playing low in the background. We sat on the couch, a blanket around us, shoulders touching. My heart hammered like I was 20 again. She looked at me then, really looked, and whispered, "You don't have to be alone in this." I kissed her, or maybe she kissed me. All I know is the loneliness split open and something tender spilled out, something that felt like hope disguised as sin. Her lips tasted of gin in winter. Her hands tangled in my hair, and for the first time since the unraveling of my marriage, I felt alive. Afterward, guilt clawed at me. I was still technically married, still tethered to the wreckage. But lying there with Claire's head on my chest, listening to her breathing even and steady, I realized it wasn't about revenge or filling a void or even escaping the pain. It was about remembering I was still capable of connection, of love, of being wanted without condition. Emily had chosen her path long before that Christmas dinner, and I, perhaps out of weakness, perhaps out of resilience, had found another way through the wreckage. It wasn't the life I had imagined, but it was still life. And sometimes in the middle of betrayal and endings, a stranger at a bar can become the beginning of something you never expected to need.